It is
That's good.
Friday night. It is Father's Day weekend. I'm on hallowed ground. I'm outside Johnny's Beef in Elmwood Park. To my right, if you're watching this on Facebook, if you're watching this on YouTube, is Scott Fischer. He, the impresario, the man behind Happy to Meet You, the delivery service that brings fresh hand-cut meat. Cut at like 4:30 or something stupid in the morning.
Really?
Like,
Really?
hand-cut meat and ships it same day. Happy to meet you, a proud sponsor of Car Con Carne. But Scott is a fascinating guy. It is grilling season. It is Father's Day season. I wanted to have you on, A, to eat meat with me, because we haven't done that because of the pandemic. B, to talk about how to best prepare meat in this season.
Yeah.
It's grill season. Everyone's got the Webers or whatever ready to go, and there are some cardinal sins I think people make.
Absolutely.
And I think you can help steer us down the path of good.
That's right. No pun intended.
Right. Happy to meet you. If you want some of this meat, and we'll talk about this. I mean, this is almost like an infomercial, but it's not. If you want to have this, I mean, this is like Chicago steakhouse quality, top of the line meat delivered to your home so that you can be a hero this grill season. Happy to meet you. Happy to meet, MEAT, letter U.com. Use my promo code JVO because that gets you 3 different spice blends, which are like rubs, right?
Yeah, they are. Similar to rubs. They're actually flavor blends is what I call them.
Flavor blends. You get 3 flavor blends are better than rubs. That is just a fact. And you get, is this like a cookbook that comes?
It's actually something that took us a year to create. We did it with the Beef Council, in fact, and it's called our Carnivore Companion Guide. So it's a resource guide that really will cover every cut of beef that you can imagine, how to cook it, whether it's on a grill, in a skillet to oven, reverse sear, some great recipes that are tucked inside, actually back from my MasterChef days.
Scott was on MasterChef.
Yeah, so I was able to, pop in a couple great recipes that I think people will find to be very, very tasty and beneficial, and just a completely at your fingertip ready resource.
Indispensable stuff to have right
Absolutely,
there,
right
ready to
there.
go. Because we all need that reference every now and then, like what's the temperature I should pull this off on or off at?
Exactly. And everybody, someone once said to me, well, that's what Google's for. I can go to Google.
Yeah.
But when you're cooking and you have this particular kind of beef, you don't want to keep typing and inputting and trying to figure. It's a one-stop resource for all of your cooking needs.
Well, there's that. Who wants to Google as you're doing that? But also, there's something to be said for having books and resources like that around the house. I'll pull that stuff off the shelf and look at that.
Yeah.
Just for my own self-satisfaction and amusement.
I mean, I even refer back to it, so it's a great resource.
There you go.
So it's about 35 pages, full color. Really nice guide.
So Scott mentioned MasterChef. He's also, you've probably seen him on QVC. That's new, right? That's within the past couple months.
Just we launched on QVC on May the 18th, actually.
That's huge. So the past month.
Yeah,
as we're sitting here.
literally.
Time passes differently now.
Yeah.
Ever since time just flows in strange ways.
It does.
So you're on QVC. Happy to meet you.
So exciting. Yeah, it was, you know what? It was really meant to be, because when I created Happy to Meet You, it was, as you know, it was out of necessity. Because
it was the pandemic.
We
were all sheltering in place.
The great restaurants shut down. So these great prime age steaks had no home. They had nowhere to go.
It's sad. This is a sad story.
It is
a happy ending.
But we get a happy ending and a happy beginning. So about 2 years ago was the happy beginning, where I approached one of the leading purveyors, 70 years in Chicago, 70 years this year, hand cutting the best prime steaks in the city of Chicago. And at the time, again, as I mentioned, no home. They never saw the light of day in someone's home kitchen. Only available to the finest restaurants and hotels.
I don't think people understand, that's a significant deal.
Oh, yeah.
You can't go to the grocery store and get this.
No, you can't. And really, so what we say and what I say now is that now everyone throughout the U.S. can get a VIP ticket to these great steaks in Chicago. And all steaks are not created equal. And we could, there are a lot of, well-known steakhouses in Chicago. And let me just tell you, the quality fluctuates depending on where these folks are getting, buying their provisions. The one thing that I can say is that the resources that we have in place today are the same as when we started almost 70 years ago. So we don't change suppliers. That's the key. It's consistency. Consistency is key. That's why sometimes you might go to a restaurant or your upscale, meat market, and a steak is good today and bad tomorrow, or
Right.
The steaks.
It's a roll of the dice.
It's a roll of the dice, guaranteeing the consistency. So we're really, really excited about that.
And the best part about eating these quality steaks at home, you don't have to dress up to eat them.
You don't.
You don't have to. You're not going out for a fancy meal. No reservation. Forget open table. Your table's open. You're at home.
Right. And I often say, if you want to experience the quality and the flavor of these steaks, if you don't live in the Chicago area, you're outside, or even if you're in the far suburbs, you need, how about a plane? Get a plane ticket, come out, go to one of the great restaurants that feature our steaks, and we're saving you a lot of money. Let's put it that way. So now these steaks are accessible throughout the U.S. and QVC was just a great way for really all of America to experience
All of America.
this. Yeah.
All right. Here's the part of the show where we learned that it was a poor idea to wear a button-down shirt to Johnny's Beef. And I knew better. I don't know. I mean, I thought you're on QVC. I should wear something with a collar.
Oh, look at me. I'm just, I'm celebrating Dad here. So.
Okay, so we're at Johnny's Beef. We'll show off. We got combos because that's what you do. Oh, one is peppers, one doesn't.
Yeah. Good.
I have the hot jardinera just so I can sweat a little bit.
There we go.
Okay.
There you go. Right. Now, hopefully, I better tuck my napkins in.
Now, you chose this place, which I had no problem with whatsoever.
Right. An institution in the Chicagoland area.
Been here a couple times for car con carne, and this won't be my last time for car con carne. So here's what we're looking at. This is the combo, the beef and sausage. What do? They charcoal cook the sausage.
They charcoal cook the sausage. The beef is just incredibly flavorful. But as I mentioned to you, we're sort of a proud papa to these Italian sausages.
Explain.
Well, we actually provide the Italian sausage to Johnny's, and
Happy to Meet You provides the Italian sausage to Johnny's, arguably the best Italian beef place in the Midwest. Happy to meet you.
It's that quality and it's that good. So let's dig in. Should I go for it?
Go for it. There's no way to do this. To be clear, my mouth doesn't open like this. If it did, I would have a bigger following.
And the sausage, handmade, in-house.
It's sweet. That's what there's a sweetness, and I'm getting that from the beef as well.
Yeah.
So there's
just a really good combination.
There's all kinds of spice going on in here. All kinds of flavor.
And of course, if you want to experience, we have both the mild and the hot sausage available.
I've had the hot.
Yeah,
that's a work up a sweat.
It's a work up a sweat. Yeah, this one has a little kick to it. But of course, if you can't get Johnny's, you can just go right online and we'll get it right out to you.
That is amazing. I've been eating this stuff frequently, and it's the same stuff. I could be making these sausages at home.
Right, exactly.
Amazing. All right, so QVC is ongoing. Are you hearing from people I think of you because that's how we met as a Chicago guy, but
right
now that you're national, are you hearing from people in
we are
Duluth?
Not only Duluth, we had customers from QVC that ordered through QVC and came back, and someone came back and just did a purchase of over $1,000 worth of beef. So it was amazing. It's just great to hear the stories of what people really enjoy and how we make a difference. We also had somebody that called and said that they were going to Croatia and asked if they could pack the steaks frozen in their suitcase. Well, I said, I assume you can. I said, there's no guarantee, and don't hold me liable if they confiscate it through customs, but yes. And sure enough, we packed.
No way.
We really did. And she packed it into her suitcase, and I, through email verified that they made it safe, and they enjoyed the beef in Croatia. So it's really a great story. And it's great to know that people really notice a difference. And I think that's what's so important. I grew up eating steaks. I grew up, on the North Shore. I spent a lot of time at a little steakhouse in Highwood since I was about 10.
Highwood.
Yeah.
I think it's where everyone had their first underage drink.
I think so. Well, that too. At the time, I think I was about 10, so I didn't have the drink, but I did have the New York strip steak, Al Forno. And I grew up there. We were the only kids allowed into that restaurant at that, on a Saturday night. My father was in retail, and I had a good relationship with the owner of the restaurant, and that's sort of how I grew up. And I just, my first impression was that was the best New York strip steak I think I've ever tasted, and that was my measuring stick.
The challenge, Scott, in eating a beef sandwich.
Yep.
You're on borrowed time with that bun, with the roll.
It is. It's sort of disintegrating as we speak, but you have to have it dipped.
Yeah, you have to have a dip, but the clock's ticking. It's like eating an ice cream cone. You know it's going to be delicious, but don't fuck around. Get down to business.
Get down to business. We're not doing too bad either.
No, I'm trying to eat quickly because I'm hosting a show and also the disintegration factor. This is so good, and I love. You didn't do the giardiniera. I love, with as sweet as this is, I love that balance of hot and sweet.
It's really good.
Oh my Lord! All right, so you talked a lot about steak. Happy to meet you. You go deeper into everything. I mean, chicken. I've had the burgers, which are ridiculous.
The burgers, yeah, our burgers are. We want to create. Everybody does a special blend burger. Ours is a little bit different. It's called the Mother Chucker. It's prime chuck. It's short rib, and it is also skirt steak. So we have the skirt steak trimmings in the burger, which gives it just enough of that unctuousness, that fat, that just gives it that flavor.
Did you say unctuousness?
I did, didn't I? Is that crazy? Unctuous and
You've
fat.
not had unctuous meat until you've had Happy to Meet You.
That's right.
Promo code JVO for extra unctuous.
Yeah, we're proud of the unctuous. Yeah, really, really great flavor. So yeah, the burgers are great. The chicken is probably the freshest chicken. Again, very similar if you're familiar with an air-chilled chicken breast. Very, very, very good, very flavorful, very naturally juicy. Our pork, it's heritage bred. It's bred for flavor and for tenderness.
I feel like people are afraid to cook with pork.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Pork is the easiest thing in the world to cook.
Pork is so easy to cook, and the pork today, it's not your grandmother's
Right,
pork chop. It's not dried out. It's not. You don't have to overcook it.
It's not trichinosis bait.
It's not trichinosis made. No, it's very flavorful, and the fat that outlines the chop itself is almost buttery. Buttery and light and mild.
I love a good grilled chop.
Grilled chop is
my God.
great. It's great. And then we have a whole fresh seafood line too, which is our other division, which is Happy to See You. So not only are we happy to meet you, we're happy to meet you and happy to see you.
Which, I mean, very different worlds.
Very different worlds.
Sourcing and everything.
Right. Sourcing is very, very different. We work with one of the leading provision houses with fish in our fishmongers. The fish is caught fresh. And for us, it's caught fresh and then filleted the same day into about 6-ounce portions.
It makes a big difference.
Big difference. So you can taste the difference there as well. So we're really excited about that. And that will be launching soon on QVC as well, our seafood brand. So we're excited about that too.
So update. I went ahead, kind of squeezed the sausage out of the roll, ate the beef as a sandwich. No, I'm eating the sausage separately. It seemed like there was no elegant way to do that, so I had to separate the two.
I'm almost there. I'm catching up with you.
Johnny's is a fork and knife required place that you'd never use a fork and knife at.
And we can't leave out the Italian ice, though.
Oh, my God.
You can't go to Johnny's
Nope.
and not have the Italian ice.
Well, so good. All right, you talking about chicken. I feel like that's the meat that people mess up the most on a grill.
Yep. It's super easy. And the one thing that I've learned is timing is everything. If you just have a mental timer in your mind, it's very simple. So, for example, We'll start with the steak, and then we'll move over to chicken. If you have any piece of meat, a steak, a New York strip, a ribeye, it's about an inch to an inch and a half thick, or maybe a little less. If you can just remember 6 minutes aside, that's it. It's that simple and easy. And you'll get a perfectly cooked medium to medium rare piece of meat at just 6 minutes.
So I think people they tend to flip things way too soon. They get anxious and they think, I probably should. You kind of have to let go and trust the process.
You do. Your proteins will talk to you. I can provide a couple really good tips.
Please.
If you're cooking on a cast iron skillet inside, let's say, or even on your grill, or a stainless steel pan, pans are porous. So picture a cold pan has open pores. And if you don't properly heat the pan, your pores stay open. People tend to put a protein on those open pores in that pan when the pan's not hot enough. And when the pan reaches the optimal temperature in terms of heat, it closes those pores. So what is it doing? It's actually closing and gripping that protein, which is why if you ever go to flip a piece of meat or chicken breast and it sticks to the pan, and now you pull it up and half the protein's on the pan, it's because the pan wasn't hot enough. Once the pan is hot...
How many people have done that?
It's very common.
All the time, yeah.
Once the pan's hot, those pores are closed, then you put your protein down and nothing can stick.
That seems like such a basic thing, but
but
we all need to hear that.
We all need to hear it.
Because we all get anxious, like, screw it, I'm just going to throw it on now.
No. That's why you want to properly bring that pan to temperature.
That makes perfect sense. And I do love cooking with a cast iron skillet.
I prefer it that way too.
Yeah, I mean, there's something very satisfying.
Yeah, the big thing is now butter basting. Everybody's butter basting everything, right? And some people, fail to remember that, butter burns and browns really quick. So when you're going to butter baste, you want to start with a little bit of oil. Oil offsets the burning of the butter, but then add your butter at the end of the cook inside your cast iron pan or your pan. And then you can even reduce the heat and then let the butter, and use a lot of butter, probably, I know it's going to sound crazy, almost up to half a stick. And then just baste that, and the butter will stay nice and toasty, and it won't burn. You don't want to burn that butter because it's going to give you that bitter taste. So, and another good tip too is when you're seasoning your meat, your proteins before you cook, just use your salt. A lot of people tend to think you automatically have to go with the salt and the pepper up front.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Well, when pepper hits a hot grill, it burns and turns bitter. So think about it. When you go to a restaurant, you're eating a Caesar salad or a fresh salad, don't they come by at the end and say, would you like some fresh ground pepper with your salad? And you say yes, and they grate the pepper freshly over your... Well, it's the same thing with your proteins. Put a little sprinkling of fresh cracked black pepper on your steak, or your protein, your chicken, after you're done eating.
This is mind-blowing.
So that's just a little tip. People don't
I've
think
never even thought to. I've never done that.
And then the last, or one of my last few good tips, is season the cutting board.
I don't do that either.
It's a really unique method of really putting a pop of flavor in your proteins. So when you're letting your chicken rest or your steak rest, put a little olive oil down if you like, or even a little
as opposed to using it as putting it on the meat itself.
Correct.
Got it.
And that way, when you're carving, and you can put some fresh herbs into the oil, and as you're carving the meat, it'll fall onto the board and it'll pick up those flavors off the board and just bring it to another level. So
what I love about everything you're telling me, it's stuff that like we can put into action now. Like this is really basic stuff that can have big positive effects.
Absolutely.
By the way, the line here, never small. To Johnny's credit, they always have a line, and they crank through it. And that's the secret is they basically sell three things: beef, sausage, and Italian ice.
That's it. So they're pretty much...
That's how they're able to keep turning the customers.
And no plastic, so you have to come, with cash in your pocket.
That's right. I mean, you got to figure this place has paid for itself a million times over. They're not paying rent anymore.
Right.
Like they're just they're printing money here.
Well,
cash only, no credit card fees. Like small staff. I mean, there's no tables to wait on. This is
The
brilliant.
line is still going out and around the building.
Well, it's a beautiful Friday night. I mean, so we're at the tail
Isn't it
end,
great?
the tail end of a swelteringly record-breaking week of heat in the Chicago area. So now that it's nice out and it's a Friday night, everyone's out.
Oh, it's great. I mean, and this is just, I mean, it resonates. I mean, summer, outdoor grilling. I mean, there's nothing better than that smell.
We
of
smelled it
the
when we were
grill.
walking up
You
to
smell it
Johnny's.
as soon as
Oh
you,
my God.
oh, it's amazing. And that's, you know, I mean, you know, I'm very lucky to be involved in a business that just gets you at all your senses.
Yes.
Really and truly.
My nose is running from the jardinera. Not glamorous for the camera.
But I'm going to try to keep up with you. I got to try to finish this.
Oh my gosh. I do love the hot jardinera every single time. So this, you started to explain, this business was born out of necessity. These
right.
poor, lonely steaks had nowhere to go.
Right.
We're a couple years into this. Could you have foreseen, I guess you did, you're an entrepreneur, but could you have foreseen that we'd be talking about this, you'd be on television with this?
No. In fact, it's you know, I truly feel lucky and privileged that you know, we're 2 years in now, and a lot of things have changed too. When we started, we did all our own personal delivery service, our local delivery.
You came to my door.
I came to your door. we couldn't. It's gotten to be now so big that we don't have the capacity now to do all the local deliveries.
Right.
So we now have aligned with UPS.
Brilliant.
So yeah, and so UPS will get those packages, especially if you live in the Chicago area or in Illinois, the next day. So you order on Monday, the order comes in Monday, let's say Monday night. Tuesday we package it, you get it Wednesday. So, I mean, and that's a good, you know, that was a good problem to have, is how to reinvent ourselves in terms of delivery. Mm-hmm. But you know, again, the one thing that we haven't changed and that I haven't changed is the quality. Everything is cut fresh. You made a reference at 4 a.m. Yeah, we start early. Orders come in. We do not offer what I call a steak sickle, which is, you know, that steak that's been sitting in a meat locker for 2 months, 3 weeks, a year, believe it or not. Everything is cut fresh to order, and that's the one thing that I always wanted to maintain. Mm-hmm. And the discipline for this company was that the quality and the freshness will always be
and you
there.
taste it. I mean, it's
You do.
it's so apparent.
Yeah, and the flavor profile of the meats, and this is what I fell in love with when I first knew that these steaks were just that good and had to find a home, is that they have this unique flavor. So we do all of our aging in-house, and people will always say, well, what is aging? Everybody talks about a 21-day aged piece of meat, or a 60-day dry aged. Well, aging is the natural process that my particular favorite is wet aging, which is primarily what we do, which is that the meat literally just sits in its own enzymes in a cryovac package for a certain number of days. And I talk about a proprietary aging process. Most people tell you how many days they age for. We don't typically disclose that because it's like a recipe. The proper number of days is what really develops the flavor to just the right point of what I think.
It makes sense.
It does.
Keep that one close to the vest.
Some people go...
Speaking of close to the
Yeah,
vest,
close
I thought you were done.
I'm going to take one last bite and I'm done. I can't give up the...
Here's the insidious thing about Johnny's beef. You finish one of them, it shouldn't work like this. Like, I'm ready for another. I don't...
It's so good.
So good. I don't even feel full, and I know I should.
Yeah, if you haven't made it at Johnny's, you got to check it out.
I could easily do another one.
Oh, yeah. Just so good. So...
I'm actually just kind of feeling you out to see if you want to have another one.
But, yeah, so the quality's there, but the growth has just been incredible. We now ship to all, every state, in the U.S. And I just say, who'd have thunk? It's really incredible. And it's great because the customers who enjoy the product keep coming back, and it's because of the quality and the consistency. And that just makes me laugh. I can tell you a really funny story. I was in Cabo on a boat in the middle of the ocean, and we were talking about meat, and I happened to mention happy to meet you to somebody who was on the boat. Well, it turned out that he was from the Chicago area, and remembered and heard about us, and he couldn't believe.
Shut up.
And I'm in Cabo, and that was the day that, and I think my brother-in-law was on the boat with me, and he looked at me and he said, "I think you're onto something. I want to invest."
That's bananas.
And it was bananas. I mean, I'm in Cabo. Who would have thought that the little company that I started, back a few years ago, would have that much reach, and that really makes me so happy and so proud.
And you've solved a problem. That's what a good startup does. It solves the problem being people can't get access to this type of meat.
Right. And I wanted to make sure that everyone had access to the best quality beef at what I feel is an extremely fair price. And I didn't want to box anybody in. You go online, you look at a lot of companies that sell meat. You have to buy large quantities.
Yep.
Or you have to buy a box of 12 fillets or 12. I said no. If somebody wants one strip steak and a ribeye, so be it. We'll do one steak and one New York and one ribeye. So that's the way I wanted to make sure that we were different. So we didn't lock anybody in. We want to get you what you want. We want to make sure the quality is there and get it to you at a fair price.
So again, Happy to Meet You, meatu.com is where you can order. Like Scott said, you can order on a Monday. They cut it on Tuesday if you're local. They get it all packed, ready to go. You get it on Wednesday. I mean, it other than following Scott around, it doesn't get fresher than that.
It doesn't get fresher than that. And again, they're cut fresh the same day that it goes out. And we actually just put in, every box now has, we have this new version of dry ice. It's an eco-friendly ice that
that's brilliant.
It's brilliant, and it's really nice. After it thaws out, you can actually, it's 100% natural. You can actually use it as a plant fertilizer. It's nitrogen-based. So when it's all done, throw it in your
I
tomatoes.
didn't even know this existed.
Yeah, you can put it into your flower bed, into your garden. It's wonderful. You can use it and enjoy it, and you'll have great tomatoes to go along with
Sustainable.
Sustainable.
Look at that.
So we're very proud of our packaging. All of our packaging is eco-friendly. So we can't do it any better. I don't believe.
I mentioned MasterChef. I mentioned QVC. The television angle, the video angle.
Yeah.
Do you like that part of what you do?
I do. I mean, it's always exciting. It gets your adrenaline flowing. The unique thing about both being on MasterChef, which I think gave me the good training for QVC, because I really did my first QVC episode live, it's unscripted. So you are literally going on. I mean, there are no cue cards. There is no teleprompter. You are literally going live. And I think with QVC, it's 30 million people. So it's quite...
God.
Yeah. It's
not unlike Car con Carne.
Oh, well, yeah, we're close to that, though. So it really does. It does prepare you for that. I mean, even MasterChef, it was a unique experience. And I was actually on season 1, so I didn't know what to expect. I started watching episodes of MasterChef from Australia just to see what I was in for. It's great preparation. But it's great to be able to have that connection with people and to provide, resourceful information. It's great.
Do you think Gordon Ramsay's watching your success right now and thinking, I missed that one?
I definitely 100% believe that he is not looking to see where I am or what I'm doing. But I will tell you, I had a good relationship with another well-known chef in Chicago, just through the show, was Graham Elliott, who was one of the judges, if you're familiar with
Of
Graham
course.
Elliott in Chicago.
I've never met him. The closest I came to Graham Elliott, I was at a local age show at Liars Club. He's a music head. And he was...
Yeah, absolutely.
He was at Liars Club. I'm like, I don't want to be that
Absolutely.
guy. I don't want to say hi, but yeah, he was rocking out to local age.
And I think he was involved also. He did some with Lollapalooza, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Didn't he? I believe so. But yeah, it's a real real great industry to be in. I mean, food is great.
Food is great.
Food is great. Radio, podcasts are great. Television is great. Media is great. Any way that you can connect with someone
That's
to
it.
make a difference, I think is great. And what you're doing is great, obviously.
Well, thank
and we've been together for now almost a little over a year.
We've been food bros for a while.
Yeah.
Food bros.
Food bros. I like that.
All right, so Scott Fischer, happy to meet you. I don't know how else to say it if you're watching or listening. I mean, if you want the highest quality meat at a reasonable price, delivered fresh, for this grilling season, happytomeetyou.com. Use my promo code so you get all those spice blends. You get the 30-plus page. What is it? The
Carnivore Companion.
Carnivore
guide.
Companion. Sorry. It's alliteration. You'd think I'd remember. I love a good alliteration.
That's good.
Carnivore.
And remember, these are not like steakhouse quality steaks. These are the exact same steaks that are going to the great steakhouses in Chicago, a few of them in Las Vegas, and now direct to your door.
And that with the Carnivore Companion, you can be sure that you cook them just as good as
You can't screw it up. You can't,
Right.
I'm giving you everything you need.
You have all the toolkit can be delivered to your home.
The toolkit is to your door. If you want to impress your friends, your family, the flavor will truly blow you away in terms of quality.
So when can we see you on QVC?
So I'm back on QVC. You can tune in a week from this Wednesday, which would be, I believe,
The 22nd is Wednesday, so it'd be the 29th?
the 29th.
Okay.
I'm back on live on QVC. We're actually showcasing some of our top sirloins, which we don't even have actually on our website right now. So we're cutting fresh, prime, hand-cut top sirloin steaks.
So how do you cook a top sirloin? Like, what makes that cut special?
So the top sirloin is really, really neat. If you haven't experienced one, it almost looks and cuts like a New York strip steak.
Which is my favorite cut.
Which is your favorite? Yeah, which is a great cut. Very, very lean. But because it's prime, it has a little bit of that marbling, which gives it that great flavor. Again, prime equals fat, but it's not a fatty steak. It's a flavorful steak. And then it has the tenderness of a filet. So think about a strip steak that you can fork cut. And that's it. And that's really what a top sirloin is. It sits above the sirloin. So it's a wonderful, wonderful cut. It cooks super quick. I think the ones we're doing are 6 ounces. Literally 4 minutes one side, 2 minutes the other side, let it rest for 5 minutes, and that's it.
One thing you didn't mention, you talked earlier about the 6 minutes per side. What about searing? Is that something that people should be doing, or is it just
Absolutely. I always talk about there are most people think there are 2 sides to a steak. No, there's probably, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5. It could be 6 sides to a steak. One favorite way of preparing a steak that I enjoy is a reverse sear. So what you're basically doing, and I can't emphasize this, if there's anything that I would say is critical to cooking the best steak outside of the quality meats that we're providing, it's a digital meat thermometer.
Yep.
That is a must-have. I don't care if you're an experienced chef. I've been to a number of restaurants where, in top steakhouses, they sometimes don't even get it right. You'll never go wrong with a digital meat thermometer, a good digital meat thermometer. And you want to cook your steak to about 130 degrees, which is pretty, it's rare to medium, really medium rare. But you want to cook it to that temperature and then begin the searing process versus searing first and then trying to get the steak to the optimal temperature. So the reverse sear is almost like putting a steak in the oven, bringing it up slowly so those juices don't ooze out, they're redistributing inside the meat. And then when it reaches that optimal temperature of about 130, 135, take it off and then just give it a quick sear on both sides on the hardest part of the grill, and make sure you get the fat cap. I'm doing a lot of talking with my hands, but I'm trying to envision cooking the steak right along with you all. And make sure you sear each side of that steak, because the fat cap, especially on a New York strip, if you have that, is what really imparts all of that great flavor.
For sure.
And another good tip too is if you are doing a steak in a skillet or a pan, instead of adding oil or butter, trim off some of the fat if there is. If you have a New York or any type of steak that has a fat cap, even a ribeye, cut off some of that fat, throw that fat in the pan, and then begin your searing and your basting. Because now you're cooking. That's the pro move. That's what's giving you all that great flavor.
Brilliant. And then one final grilling note, since we're on the topic.
Yeah.
2 zones, is that the way to do the best?
Always 2 zones. You always want a hot zone and a more cooler zone, because your cool zone could be, if you're doing the reverse sear, that's where you want to start your protein. And even chicken breasts and even sausages. I use a method which is called a stacking method. So whether you're doing sausage, chicken, burgers, I'll cook them to pretty much the optimal temperature. But before it gets too far, I will take them, move them to a top rack, and I will just start placing all of the chicken breasts on top of each other, almost like a pile. And what happens is they slowly start basting each other as you're cooking.
Okay.
And even if you're doing bratwurst or Italian sausage, the same thing. I'll start them on the grill, and then I will move them over to a cooler part of the grill, stack them all on top of each other, and as they slowly baste, they're basting each other, and the juices sort of run down and redistribute all over, those proteins. So just another way of doing it, rather than letting them just sit flat independently on a grill and then all the juices just run to the bottom of the grill. Right. Stack. Remember the stack, like a Jenga stack.
Right, and I mentioned it earlier. I feel like chicken's the thing people get the most wrong. I've had too many black chicken breasts from the grill. They should be a beautiful roasted brown color.
Yep. And if you use that method, you can't go wrong. There'll always be one, breast on the bottom or protein on the bottom, but keep stacking and you can keep rotating them
like
around.
Jenga.
It's like Jenga. It's self-basting method. So yeah, I hope that helps. Those are just some tips that
I've learned a lot. I think every day is an opportunity to learn more, and I've learned a lot. Actually, I think this is super helpful. Happy to meet you. Get great meat delivered to your place. It may not come from him directly. He won't hand deliver it, but it'll get there super fast, super fresh, super delicious. I do miss you coming to my house.
Oh, well, we can always arrange that.
All right, good. HappyToMeetYou.com, HappyToMeetYou.com. Get yourself set up. We're recording this on the 17th of June. 4th of July is weeks away. Have your arsenal ready to go for friends, family, colleagues, interested passersby. Just have that fridge loaded with the good stuff. Happy to meet you. Thank you, Scott.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And what a beautiful outing.
I'm going for another beef.
I'll be there right with you.